There exists a type of creature in this world, one that has been spotted by a few, but remains unconfirmed by science. We refer to such beings collectively as unidentified mysterious animals, UMA. Hello everyone, welcome to the world in 10-minute series videos. Since the late 20th century, a mysterious beast has repeatedly emerged in the public eye. A series of livestock attacks suggest that this creature possesses a nearly insatiable bloodlust. The victims were found horrifically mutilated, their bodies completely drained of blood. This incomprehensible predatory instinct, combined with the creature's elusive nature, has continuously challenged people's understanding of the natural world. This episode will focus on one of the most infamous bloodthirsty creatures in modern cryptozoology, El Chupacabra. The origin of the name Chupacabra is widely debated, but the most popular theory suggests that it was coined by Puerto Rican television host Silvio Perez, who was involved in early reports of the phenomenon. The term comes from the Spanish words chupa, meaning to suck, and cabra, meaning goat, leading to its infamous nickname, the goat sucker. Over time, the depictions of Chupacabra have evolved, leading to a wide variety of descriptions. However, the most common and original portrayal describes it as a bipedal, humanoid reptilian creature that sometimes walks on all fours. 3 to 4 feet, 90 to 120 centimeters, tall. Grotesque facial features with a mouth full of razor-sharp teeth. Dark, leathery, brownish skin. Large black or glowing red eyes. A row of sharp spines running from its head to its back. Some reports suggest these spines might actually be a crest, or even large wings. Others claim that Chupacabra has a retractable proboscis, allowing it to pierce its victims, drain their blood, or even extract specific organs. Because Chupacabra sightings vary so widely, the above description is a composite summary based on multiple eyewitness accounts. The sheer number of sightings, many of which seem contradictory, has made it difficult to determine the creature's true nature. To explore this mystery, we will reference the 2011 book Tracking the Chupacabra by American paranormal investigator Benjamin Radford, focusing on key documented cases. It is widely believed that the Chupacabra first appeared in the 1970s. On February 25, 1975, a Puerto Rican newspaper reported that in Mocha, an unknown creature attacked and killed 15 cows, 3 goats, 2 geese, and a pig. The victims were found drained of blood, their bodies pierced with small, sharp wounds. Over the next 2 weeks, 2 farmers reported that their cows and entire chicken flocks had been slaughtered in a similar fashion. By the end of March 1975, Puerto Rico's El Vocero newspaper reported that at least 107 animals had died under mysterious circumstances in Mocha. Due to the high-profile media coverage, the unknown predator was given a terrifying name, the Vampire of Mocha. Similar livestock deaths began to spread across eastern and central Puerto Rico, affecting Corozal, San Juan, and Fajardo. Surviving newspaper records indicate that these reports began appearing in mid-March 1975. Alongside the vampire killings, there were also reports of UFOs and flying creatures. By late June 1975, the attacks gradually declined. By July, no further incidents were reported. Despite efforts to track and capture the creature, no one ever saw the so-called Mocha vampire, and all search efforts failed. On March 1995, a new case emerged in Orocovis, central Puerto Rico. 8 goats were found dead, each with deep puncture wounds in their chests, their blood completely drained. This incident is considered the first officially recognized Chupacabra attack. By August 1995, the northern town of Canóvanas became the center of an outbreak of livestock killings. At least 150 farm animals and pets were reportedly killed and drained of blood. In mid-August, a woman named Madeline Tolentino claimed to have witnessed the creature firsthand. Her description was later cross-referenced with 1996 news reports and a 2010 interview conducted by Radford. One night, Madeline Tolentino was suddenly woken by her mother, who said that something was standing outside. Peering through the window together, they quickly spotted the creature. The entire sighting lasted 3 to 5 minutes. Tolentino described the being as about 3 feet, 90 centimeters, tall, with wrinkled skin that looked like it was covered in gray leather. Its limbs ended in long fingers with human-like nails. It had hair on its head, but some parts of its body were covered in rough burn-like patches. Its eyes were large and it had no visible nose, only 2 small, round nostril-like openings on its face. It lacked genitalia and had no tail. When it moved, it hopped like a kangaroo. Tolentino also reported a strong sulfuric odor, which she had smelled again during a later outing in December, leading her to believe that the creature had been nearby. This account became the earliest and most detailed depiction of El Chupacabra. Soon after, reports of attacks and sightings began to spread like wildfire across Puerto Rico, fueling fear and speculation. The descriptions of Chupacabra became increasingly varied and bizarre. One man, Jose Bosto, claimed that Chupacabra ran through his backyard. According to him, it was a 3-foot-tall creature with legs like a theropod dinosaur. It had strong hind legs and small, underdeveloped forelimbs. Bosto saw it briefly walk through his yard, then leap over a 6-foot-high fence before disappearing. Another sighting in Dorado described Chupacabra with massive green eyes that turned red when it looked directly at someone. Its forelimbs were similar to human hands, but missing a finger, ending in sharp claws. On September 9, 1995, at dawn, David Negro found his sheep dead. As he inspected the area, he saw the creature. He described it as a furry black being with large red eyes and a bizarre, crest-like structure on its head. Fear of the unknown overwhelmed him, and he quickly ran back inside. Puerto Rican paranormal investigator Jorge Martin was among the first researchers to take interest in the case. He was responsible for creating the most well-known hand-drawn depiction of Chupacabra. Martin stated that Chupacabra witnesses came from all walks of life: farmers, religious figures, police officers, and even government personnel. Their descriptions varied greatly, as if the creature were a hybrid of multiple animals. It had features of a kangaroo and a dinosaur, but also reptilian traits. Most accounts placed its height between 3 to 5 feet, 90 to 150 centimeters. A more precise comparison would be a Jurassic Park velociraptor, but without a tail and with a gray alien-like head. Large skull, red eyes, tiny nostrils, and a mouth full of fangs. Its forelimbs ended in sharp claws, and its body was covered in gray or gray-black fur. Some witnesses reported no fur at all, instead describing a row of glowing spines running from head to back. Descriptions of wings were inconsistent. Some said Chupacabra had a pair of wings on its back. Others described leathery, bat-like skin flaps extending from its upper limbs to its waist. A priest even claimed to have seen a long, retractable proboscis inside its mouth. Investigating farmers whose livestock had been attacked revealed a pattern. Most animals had small puncture wounds, typically found on the neck, abdomen, or near the reproductive organs. Some humans even reported being attacked. Certain victims were left with round wounds, fueling fears that Chupacabra might also prey on humans. As more people reported strange creatures and the media extensively covered the phenomenon, a sense of mass hysteria began to spread across Puerto Rico. By October 1995, Canóvanas Mayor Jose Soto publicly announced that the government would take action to capture the mysterious beast before more tragedies occurred. Despite large-scale searches in affected areas, the only things discovered were more dead animals and more eyewitness reports. The Department of Agriculture examined the bodies of several slaughtered animals. Except for one missing chicken's internal organs, they found no other unusual external anomalies. An autopsy on a goat revealed multiple deep wounds on its neck, suggesting repeated attacks. Investigators ruled out simple animal fights due to the wound patterns. By November, Martin and local news channels invited veterinarian Carlos Soto to examine 2 dead rabbits. One rabbit had a circular incision on the back of its neck, with some missing internal organs. In December, he inspected 20 more birds. All died from puncture wounds to the back of the neck. Some birds were missing organs, yet none showed signs of rigor mortis. Soto suspected that the victim's blood had been treated with an anticoagulant substance, possibly introduced by the mysterious predator itself. Starting in 1996, reports of livestock attacks attributed to Chupacabra began spreading beyond Puerto Rico. Sightings surfaced across Latin America, including Mexico, Chile, Argentina, Brazil, and Nicaragua. Even in the United States, reports emerged from Florida, South Carolina, and Texas, and even in the northwestern and northeastern states like Oregon and Michigan. As the legend gained traction, descriptions of Chupacabra became increasingly supernatural and baffling. One particularly strange case involved a woman named Evelyn, who claimed to have been attacked by a bizarre creature outside her home. She recalled only seeing massive teeth, glowing eyes, and a repulsive, nauseating stench before losing consciousness. Later, her husband found her unconscious in the yard, her arms and back covered in deep, bleeding gashes. Terrified, he rushed her to the hospital. The attending doctor later stated in an interview that he had never seen such unusual wounds, especially since they healed rapidly within 3 days. Evelyn later claimed that she had heard the creature communicating telepathically, warning her not to resist. This incident further blurred the line between cryptozoology and the paranormal, suggesting Chupacabra might possess supernatural abilities and higher intelligence. For 5 years, these bizarre encounters continued. By the 21st century, the United States became a hotspot for Chupacabra sightings. However, a notable shift occurred in witness descriptions. Instead of a reptilian, alien-like creature, witnesses now describe Chupacabra as a mysterious canine-like predator. This new version of Chupacabra was said to use its vampire-like fangs to pierce the throats of its prey and drain their blood dry. In 2007, a Texas-based physician, Phyllis Canyon, claimed to have seen Chupacabra multiple times on her ranch. Her property seemed to be a frequent hunting ground for the beast. On July 14, 2007, while driving to her ranch, Canyon accidentally struck and killed a strange-looking animal. She believed she had finally found a real Chupacabra corpse. To preserve the body, she stored it in a freezer. Over the following months, unidentified individuals repeatedly attempted to break into her home, forcing her to relocate the corpse for safekeeping. She kept the remains hidden for 9 months. According to Canyon, she had the body analyzed by professional labs. The results allegedly confirmed that the creature was neither a wolf nor a dog, nor any known species. Eventually, the corpse was taxidermied and put on display in her ranch's exhibit hall, becoming one of the most famous alleged Chupacabra specimens on the internet. A similar incident occurred in August 2008. While investigating a missing livestock case, Texas officers Erica Carter and Brandon Riedel spotted a strange canine. The creature ran along the road before disappearing into a nearby farm. They recorded the sighting using the dashboard camera of their patrol car. According to Officer Carter, the animal resembled a dog, but its head and ears were much larger, and it had a distinct bluish-gray skin tone. Such cases became increasingly common, with photos and videos of alleged Chupacabra sightings circulating widely across the internet. In 2019, a mass poultry massacre in Puerto Rico was once again attributed to Chupacabra, further fueling speculation about its existence. Due to the overwhelming number of reports, not every case can be examined in detail. However, the common themes remain consistent: preying on poultry, livestock, and pets, nocturnal hunting patterns, unusual, eerie appearance, seemingly endless killing sprees, draining blood and damaging internal organs. These traits paint Chupacabra as a vicious, merciless predator. But does such a creature truly exist? One of the biggest mysteries surrounding Chupacabra is its alleged ability to drain blood from its victims. Back in 1996, when Chupacabra hysteria peaked in Puerto Rico, local veterinarian David Morales publicly denied its existence. He suggested that feral dogs were likely responsible for the killings. He also considered the possibility of large primates or big cats, since their attacks followed similar patterns. Regarding the blood-draining phenomenon, Morales offered a completely different perspective. After examining over 300 allegedly Chupacabra-killed animal carcasses, he found no evidence to support the blood-sucking theory. Instead, he discovered significant amounts of blood inside the bodies, suggesting that they were not drained dry. This led him to believe that the culprits were ordinary predators, not supernatural monsters. Interestingly, most reports of blood-drained carcasses came from farmers who lacked medical or forensic expertise. Few of them actually performed thorough examinations of the bodies. In many cases, farmers assumed that the lack of visible blood pools around the carcasses meant that the creature had sucked them dry. However, forensic experts argue that when an animal dies, gravity causes blood to settle internally, which could explain the absence of external blood in these cases. This misconception arose from a natural phenomenon that occurs after an animal's death. Once blood circulation stops, gravity causes blood to settle in the lower parts of the body. At the same time, coagulation factors activate, turning liquid blood into a gel-like state. This process takes only a few hours. Unless the carcass is moved during this period, no visible blood will seep from the body, leading observers to wrongly assume that the animal has been completely drained of blood. In reality, a true blood-drained corpse would have pale, discolored internal organs, a detail only detectable through a professional autopsy, something most farmers and eyewitnesses lack the expertise to recognize. Now, returning to the video and physical evidence. In 2011, the West African television program, Fact or Faked, Paranormal Files, conducted an investigation into these key pieces of evidence. To test the patrol car footage of the Chupacabra sighting, they filmed two comparison videos, one featuring a miniature Australian horse and the other featuring a Peruvian Inca orchid, a rare hairless dog breed. The results were as follows. The mini horse looked significantly different from the original footage. However, the hairless dog bore a striking resemblance to the supposed Chupacabra, with only slight differences in the nose shape when both animals turned their heads. One of the largest breeding populations of the Peruvian Inca orchid is located in Texas. This suggests that even if the creature in the video was not a hairless dog, it was likely a deformed individual or a newly recognized species within the same lineage. The program also tracked down Dr. Phyllis Canyon, obtaining a preserved tissue sample from her alleged Chupacabra corpse. DNA testing revealed that the creature was most likely a hybrid between a Mexican gray wolf and a North American coyote. Although the investigation did not reach a definitive conclusion, the canine Chupacabra theory has remained one of the most widely accepted explanations. In 2010, University of Michigan professor Barry O'Connor stated in an interview that as the Chupacabra legend spread from Puerto Rico to Latin America, its identity also evolved. He suggested that most modern sightings could be attributed to coyotes, wild dogs, or red foxes suffering from severe mange, sarcoptic mites infection. The common features of the modern Chupacabra description, 4 legs, hairless, scaly-looking skin, foul odor, and prominent fangs, closely resemble the symptoms of advanced mange in canines. When mites burrow into an animal's skin, its immune system reacts by thickening the skin, compressing hair follicles, and restricting blood flow. This leads to hair loss, excessive itching, and self-inflicted wounds from constant scratching and biting. The infected areas become crusted, inflamed, and prone to bacterial infections, resulting in a foul stench. Swelling in the facial tissues often causes teeth to appear unnaturally large, enhancing the vampiric look. As the disease progresses, the weakened animals struggle to hunt in the wild, leading them to target easy prey, such as livestock. Compared to domesticated dogs, coyotes and other wild canines are more vulnerable to severe mange infections due to their weaker genetic resistance. So far, every canine-like Chupacabra carcass subjected to scientific analysis and DNA testing has been confirmed to be an animal with mange. For example, in 2005, Texas resident Devin McNally reported that an unknown predator had slaughtered his chickens. When he finally encountered the culprit for the 5th time, he shot it. The creature's hairless, grayish-blue body sparked rumors of a real Chupacabra. However, DNA tests conducted by New York University laboratories confirmed that the corpse belonged to a coyote suffering from severe mange. In October 2009, a driver named Paul Stewart discovered a hairless canine corpse on the roadside. It had large fangs and a sickly appearance, but was later identified as a mangy coyote. In 2014, a Texas woman claimed that her husband had captured a live Chupacabra. The creature had large claws and fangs, a bald back, and fit many characteristics of the legendary monster. However, biologist Brent Ortego examined it and confirmed it was simply a mange-infected wild dog. Countless similar cases exist, and today the canine chupacabra theory is largely considered conclusive. But what about the original bipedal creature from Puerto Rico? Professor O'Connor proposed that early chupacabra reports may have stemmed from a wild primate suffering from mange. Just like North America's mange-ridden canines, these primates could have developed distorted features due to disease and malnourishment, making them appear ferocious and unnatural. Canadian paranormal investigator Chad Deacon supports the canine chupacabra theory, but acknowledges that some cases may involve escaped laboratory primates from U.S. research facilities. As outlandish as it sounds, this theory isn't baseless. Cryptozoologist Scott Corrales, one of the earliest researchers of the chupacabra phenomenon, suggested that Puerto Rico has a long history of experimental drug testing. Since the 1940s, Puerto Ricans were reportedly subjected to clinical trials for contraceptive drugs, steroids, and other pharmaceuticals. Some areas even underwent radiation testing, with certain sites still being off-limits today. Corrales speculated that chemical exposure may have caused biological mutations, leading to the creation of chupacabra-like creatures. Belgian zoologist Edwin Vilas shared a similar perspective on the chupacabra phenomenon. He argued that the so-called mysterious livestock killings were most likely caused by feral dogs and predatory felines. Another possible explanation involved monkeys brought to Puerto Rico for research purposes. Some of these introduced macaques had been living on the island for over 30 years, with several individuals escaping into the wild and establishing breeding populations. These animals could have attacked livestock and pets, explaining many of the reported chupacabra encounters. However, there was also a more supernatural theory. The idea that chupacabra was an extraterrestrial being. This claim was largely based on a series of reports from 1996, when the earliest wave of chupacabra sightings began spreading across Puerto Rico. In Dorado, multiple eyewitnesses claimed to have seen at least 15 strange creatures being taken up into a massive glowing light hovering in the sky. One witness, Rodriguez, even provided a photograph of the event. While the original newspaper article covering this incident has not been found, a documentary segment preserved a visual glimpse of both the photo and a sketch made by another eyewitness. Since similar chupacabra sightings in Chile also involved unexplainable supernatural phenomena, this theory remains open for debate. However, personally, I find its credibility weak, as no follow-up investigations seem to have been conducted. And compared to the numerous livestock attacks, these alien-related reports lack substantial evidence and public attention. John Downes, a researcher at the British Centre for Fortean Zoology, suggested that many of the original chupacabra reports in Puerto Rico could be linked to starving mongoose populations. He was likely referring to the small Indian mongoose, a species introduced to Puerto Rico in 1877 from the Malay Peninsula to control rat infestations. By the early 1990s, rat populations exploded once again, leading to a surge in mongoose numbers due to the increased food supply. However, after the rodent population stabilized, the now abundant mongooses faced food shortages. Hunger drove them to attack small animals like chickens and rabbits, potentially fueling the early chupacabra hysteria. This theory was also supported by Loren Coleman, a well-known cryptozoologist, who, along with others, suggested that mass hysteria played a major role in the widespread chupacabra panic in Puerto Rico. They argued that many sightings and killings were not the result of an unknown monster, but rather a psychological phenomenon fueled by fear and media influence. The chupacabra hysteria began in March 1996, when a television program first introduced the legend to the public. From that point on, media coverage intensified, spreading the legend from Puerto Rico to Mexico and the United States. As news outlets continued sensationalizing reports, chupacabra sightings rapidly increased across Latin America. Mass hysteria is a social phenomenon triggered by psychological stress, anxiety, and external pressures. When a large group of people shares the same fear or belief, they may experience similar symptoms, such as dizziness, paranoia, and collective panic. Over time, this fear spreads like wildfire, creating a self-sustaining cycle of rumors, anxieties, and false memories. The Chupacabra panic had all the hallmarks of mass hysteria. Intense media coverage, widespread fear, public warnings to stay indoors at night, parents telling children to avoid dark places, unverified rumors spreading from town to town. This explains why every strange occurrence in Puerto Rico during that period was automatically blamed on Chupacabra. People wanted to believe in the creature, so reports of livestock deaths, eerie noises, and unexplained lights were immediately linked to the legend. The constant reinforcement of fear led to a never-ending cycle of Chupacabra cases. This psychological phenomenon may also explain why veterinarians Carlos Soto and David Morales had completely different interpretations of Chupacabra-related animal deaths. Carlos Soto insisted that some animals were found drained of blood and missing internal organs. David Morales, on the other hand, found no evidence of blood draining and concluded that most deaths were caused by ordinary predators. This discrepancy may stem from the media's influence on how cases were documented and interpreted. It is also worth noting that Carlos Soto mostly examined small animals such as birds and rabbits, whose rigor mortis occurs faster than in larger animals. The rate at which rigor mortis appears and fades is influenced by an animal's size, metabolism, and muscle mass. Small animals with their higher metabolic rates experience rapid onset and resolution of rigor mortis. Additionally, Chupacabra cases peaked during the hot summer months, where warm temperatures accelerate decomposition, further complicating forensic analysis. In the end, no concrete evidence has ever been found to prove that Chupacabra drains blood from its victims. Professor Benjamin Radford proposed a key conclusion. We find this creature strange, mainly because we never questioned the eyewitnesses. Even cryptozoologists and researchers have a habit of blindly trusting media reports, often failing to critically analyze the actual events. Radford pointed out that witness descriptions of Chupacabra's features varied greatly. Some claimed it had wings, others said it had no tail. Some described it as resembling an alien, while others compared it to a reptilian predator. This inconsistency suggests that people were not seeing the same creature. In fact, in all documented Chupacabra encounters, no one has ever witnessed the creature in the act of attacking or killing an animal. This means that we cannot even confirm that the creature people saw was responsible for the killings. Radford carefully studied the testimony of the first major eyewitness, Madeline Tolentino, conducting a follow-up interview with her in 2010. He found her original account highly detailed, but noticed contradictions in key details, such as the creature's movement and the duration of the sighting. While some memory loss over the years is understandable, Tolentino remained the only person to have observed such extensive details, even claiming to have had enough time to squat down and examine the creature's genitalia closely. Radford concluded that her testimony was unreliable, suggesting that pre-existing psychological, cultural, and social influences played a significant role in the spread of Chupacabra sightings. At the beginning of 1995, rumors circulated about a mysterious vampire creature preying on animals across Puerto Rico. But these early stories were sensational and unverified, and no physical descriptions of the creature existed. It wasn't until August 1995 that Tolentino's sighting provided the first detailed depiction. During this period, a major pop culture influence shaped how Chupacabra would be imagined: the 1995 sci-fi horror film, Species. In July 1995, the Hollywood film Species was released. Its central fictional creature, Syl, was a human-alien hybrid bearing an uncanny resemblance to Chupacabra as described by Tolentino. Both Syl and Chupacabra shared strikingly similar traits: large, almond-shaped eyes, a narrow, elongated head, minimal nose structure, slender arms and long fingers, a row of sharp, spiky protrusions down the back, a long, flexible tongue. The resemblance was so obvious that Radford concluded the movie directly influenced Tolentino's perception. A crucial piece of evidence came from an interview with Tolentino in March 1996, where she admitted that she had already watched Species before her Chupacabra sighting. She even questioned how the filmmakers had managed to make a movie about a creature that was supposedly attacking Puerto Rico at the time. When asked if she believed the events of the movie were happening in real life, she confirmed that she did. This blurred line between fiction and reality strongly suggested that her memory had been influenced by the film, significantly damaging the credibility of her account. Due to the overwhelming number of Chupacabra reports, it's impossible to cover every single case. However, based on available evidence, Radford's conclusion seems to hold weight. While something was definitely killing livestock, the true identity of the culprit was not a supernatural vampire creature. Instead, as Dr. Barry O'Connor suggested, Chupacabra was most likely a mange-infected wild animal, particularly coyotes, wild dogs, or foxes. Wild dogs live in social groups, making it easy for mange and other diseases to spread among them. Coyotes are flexible in their social behavior, usually living in pairs or small packs, increasing their vulnerability to disease outbreaks. Even non-canine predators suffering from severe mange could have been driven to attack livestock due to food shortages. When encountering large numbers of defenseless prey, carnivores sometimes kill more animals than they need to eat. This phenomenon, called surplus killing or chicken coop syndrome, occurs when predators instinctively kill as much as possible and then hide or discard excess prey. Possible reasons include preference for specific body parts, leaving the rest of the prey untouched. Practicing hunting skills, especially among young predators. Killing to create food reserves for future hunger periods. Eliminating competition for territory. Such surplus killing behavior might explain why Chupacabra victims were found dead but uneaten, reinforcing the false belief that the creature only drank their blood. Given the scientific evidence, the idea of a reptilian, alien, or miniature dinosaur running around Latin America seems highly unlikely. As many scholars have stated, Chupacabra is better explained as a mix of psychological hysteria and media-driven myth. At a certain point, the mass panic spread like wildfire, causing ordinary animal attacks to be blamed on Chupacabra. Since the early 2000s, Chupacabra has been widely adopted into pop culture. It has appeared in TV shows and movies, novels and comics, animations and music, toys, merchandise, and clothing. Even today, new Chupacabra-related news keeps the legend alive, ensuring its place in folklore. As a newcomer to the field of cryptozoology, Chupacabra's true biological identity remains unsolved. However, its entertainment value is undeniable. Perhaps in the end, Chupacabra's greatest significance is not in whether it exists, but in how it fuels our imagination and curiosity. Like all great legends, its story will continue to capture the minds of future generations, turning it into an enduring mystery of human culture. And as always, the unknown is greater than the known. That's the true magic of unidentified mysterious animals. This concludes today's video. Thank you for watching.